It's over 9,000!
Welcome, everyone, once again to Final Forum, a podcast for the discussion of all things Dragon Ball. I am Jelly, your host.
And this is the Bekinney. And join us as we... I forgot the line. Hold on.
It doesn't matter, because this is our Daima discussion episode.
Oh, right. This is our technically not canon episode.
Yes. These are our more casual forays into doing Dragon Ball Daima, where we're not doing any research. We're just kind of reacting to the episodes more or less as they come. We fell a little bit behind. Listen, we have lives.
It's hard to believe that we have lives out here in this spaceship in space, but we do.
Everyone's been listening to our episodes. They know that we've recently had some wacky hijinkses.
Yes, that is absolutely the plural for hijinks. Hijinkses.
Hijinkses?
Yeah, no, I'm gonna. That's what I'm calling it from now on.
Is it one of those words that is its own plural?
I think it's its own plural, actually.
Like, we've had 45 different hijinks.
Indeed.
And a hijink is just a singular?
Yeah.
That sounds wrong somehow. That sounds like a slur.
Well, I mean, I honestly, low jinx, I think, sounds more like a slur.
It's okay. We're allowed to use slurs now in 2025 America. It's fine.
Woo! Say all the words that I've never wanted to say.
Fake laugh, hiding real pain. But so this is, we're doing very little research. If we end up doing some research, it's more because of we may be researching something else for the show and stumble across something that goes into Daima well, like we did when we came across Warp-sama possibly being a koi. And if you know about kois in Japan, there's all this stuff about them being mystical and magical and can even create like portals to see dragons and stuff. So, fits pretty well.
Yeah.
Also, they tend to look like goldfish, and Warp-sama is mad when he gets called a goldfish, so even more.
I guess that would be a hijink, right?
Or a low jink?
Yeah, well, be careful with that one.
But so when we last left off on episode 10, and we learned about like a whole bunch of lore dump, which guess what? That's what Daima kind of is.
For the most part, it's lore dumps and then occasional fights.
So episode 11 is Densetsu, or Densets. I'm not sure exactly. I've been mildly, not even a little bit at all, but a little bit, doing a little bit of Japanese, and something that's Densetsu should more than likely, I think, just be pronounced as Densetsu.
I think that's right.
Anyways, this episode features everyone. This is the one where they like get to the Namekian home planet, right?
Yeah. They meet Neva.
And we learn that Piccolo's dad was Katats, which I think we already knew. I think that's actually a line in the Frieza saga somewhere.
I'll keep an eye out for it.
He's like the child of Katats or something. But, he's like, oh, my name's Piccolo. And Neva's like, that's a weird name for a Namekian. Because it is. That's a funny little joke, actually. Like, those are the kinds of jokes that I'm digging in Daima sometimes. It's like almost when it like jokes about its own inconsistencies in some of the like lore and stuff. Like
very, very tongue in cheek, if you will.
Yes. Because every other Namekian is named after something slug-like or mollusk-like, but Piccolo is named after a flute. Because Piccolo was created before Toriyama thought of the Slugmen.
I mean, me personally, I'm really enjoying how we start off thinking Piccolo is a demon, and then, oh no, wait, he's a space alien, and now, no, he really was a demon the whole time.
Correct.
The double rug pull, if you will.
Then, like, Neva is like, hey, I made the Tamagamis, and they're like, hey, why can't you just have the Tamagamis attack Goma? And Neva is like, well, Namekians must never use their power for conflict, and everyone side-eyes Piccolo. Whoops. Then they ask if Piccolo can speak Namekian, and he's like, nope, not anymore.
I am a little disappointed with how much Piccolo has forgotten on this trip.
Now, we're only going to be covering up to episode 15 today. We have been watching. We are caught up. I will say, this episode where Piccolo gets asked, hey, do you speak Namekian? And he's like, nope. That's about the extent of his usefulness thus far.
Yeah, pretty much.
But Majin Kuu, we then like flip back over to Majin Kuu and Arinsu, and oh man, Majin Kuu is so funny in this when he's like, no, I could be helpful. Like, I'm very fast. I could make a run to the convenience store if you need. And then they make another Majin, and this one is Majin Duu, and he basically looks like Kid Buu, but fat.
Yeah. He's also got ears.
Yeah. But he's got the same eyes as Kid Buu.
Yeah, I think cross between Fat and Kid Buu is probably your best bet there.
Yeah. What else happens in this episode? This episode, I remember not really liking. This episode is pretty slow. It does have Majin Duu, the creation of Majin Duu. We end up, eventually, Kuu and Duu are best boys, for sure.
Yeah, they're pretty good.
But this episode then, like, what? Vegeta is about to start fighting Tamagami number 2?
Yeah.
It's hard to remember this stuff.
Yeah.
Episode by
and
episode.
I feel like when we
show...
do like the whole series kind of like overview, I think we'll probably be able to touch on why we're having so many issues remembering what episode does what. But...
Yeah. But yeah, then they just like... Vegeta just kind of starts fighting Tamagami number 2 and then gets eaten by a Kraken. This was the one. I remember this. Vegeta gets eaten by the Kraken and the internet, like, that's the end of the episode, and the internet lost its mind. Do you remember this? I don't know if you pay attention to like Dragon Ball fandom at all. You probably shouldn't.
Folks were very unhappy that Vegeta got played like that.
Yes. And I was like, y'all, the fight's clearly not over yet. That's like the mid-fight cliffhanger.
Yeah, this is so clearly like a classic Dragon Ball cliffhanger mid-fight.
And also, Vegeta's whole thing is taking L's. So, like,
dang,
where have you been? But yes, I do remember this episode just kind of being slow because it really just started these two fights without doing anything with them, and the whole time I'm kind of like, yeah, can we just
get to the fight?
Yeah, can we get to the actual fight? Which brings us to episode 12. Unless you have more on episode 11.
I do not. Let's get to the actual fight.
Okay. Because episode 12 then is at least a very fun watch.
Sure.
It's got Vegeta blasting out of the Kraken because we told you that it was the middle of the fight. Then he goes Super Saiyan 3 ultimately. Yay, Vegeta finally has it. Good for him.
He finally got that pretty blonde hair that he wanted.
Yes. And his Super Saiyan 3 is basically just like hilarious, would you say? Like, instead of his hair becoming like long and dangling down his back like Goku's, his just gets like his, but like
It's like
longer.
if you took the hair off of adult Vegeta and put it on this kid form Vegeta, that's about what it is.
You know what it's kind of like? It's kind of like Beast Gohan's hair.
Yeah, I could see that. Except he doesn't have the one bit in the front there.
Right. Yeah. But like how Beast Gohan's hair is just ridiculous.
Yeah. I feel like ridiculous hair is kind of a thing with this show, though.
Yeah, that's what makes it awesome. It's the rule of cool, for sure.
Absolutely.
Meanwhile, Best Boy Majin Duu is fighting Tamagami number 1 and defeats him. And then the final challenge for Tamagami number 1 is mental arithmetic. And it's like hard. Like it's basically like numbers appearing slowly at first and faster until the last number is like 60 million, and it's like what's the answer? Like what's the sum of all these numbers? And Majin Duu is like, Majin Duu might be best boy, but he's not smart boy.
True, very true.
However, Majin Kuu, remember, is very fast. He said he was very fast. And he's fast enough that he was able to keep track of all those numbers, add them together, and he says the number out loud. Majin Duu can hear him because they are brothers, basically.
Mm-hmm.
I love them together.
They're pretty fun. I'm curious to see what they're gonna do with them going forward.
I love these two guys together. They like, and when they first meet each other, they're like, I always wanted a brother.
It's a little bit kind of like a Laurel and Hardy routine with these guys.
Yeah, it's great. I let me tell you, we've just watched episode 18. Like I said, we're only going to go through 15. Just give me a sitcom, okay, called The Saiyan Prince and Buu Heirs, and have it be Vegeta, Bulma, Hybis, Kuu, and Duu in a sitcom. I'll watch that all day.
I'd give that a shot, definitely. You get a couple laughs out of me for sure.
I will just watch that all day.
But Hybis has to be wearing the hat.
Oh yeah. we'll get to that in a bit. Then Vegeta has to answer a question, and it's like a riddle. And blah blah blah, it's a riddle. It's like how many biscuits?
It's like a word math problem, I think.
And it's like, how many biscuits does this snake get to eat at the end? And Vegeta is like, 0? And the Tamagami's like, yes, 0. And Vegeta's like, I knew it because snakes can't eat biscuits. And like, he's like, I knew it all along.
I love that he just lucks himself into that.
Yeah. And then there's another like decent little joke where Goku wants to give Vegeta one of the bugs, the revive bugs, and Vegeta says they used to eat like little bugs like that, but he's more refined now. And I like that because that's like a nod to him eating bugs on Arlia.
People. Yeah.
That's this whole episode.
Whitewashing his backstory.
That's mostly this episode, though, and it's a good one. It's like a fun episode.
Yeah, there's some good action in this one, definitely.
Especially, like I said, anything with Kuu and Duu.
Usually a good time.
Yeah. That brings us to episode 13, then. Surprise, which is surprise. And this is the one where... So this episode is the one where they fight the giant hamsters.
Oh, yeah.
That's a good one. I don't remember much of it, because it really is just
This one I liked because this at least did something different.
Yes.
Because up to this point, a lot of these episodes have either been, like you said, a lore dump, or feel a little bit fillery, or there's just some action showing off things like, level 3 Super Saiyan. All good things, don't get me wrong. But this one was fun because this one, for me, got back to like that the original Dragon Ball energy. Where it's like an adventure and they're discovering new things as they go.
Exactly. That's this episode. It's pretty short on story. It is. They go to some other planet. Not really like a planet, but well, it's like a planet, right?
Mega. Yeah, it's a planet Mega.
Yeah. And they go to
Home
some
of the
other.
Megas.
They go to some other planet, and then they fight against giant hamsters, kaiju-sized hamsters.
Yeah.
And like that's the whole episode, and like a big old dog, and like a big old monster. They just fight against like these, and they're like
the giant monster is a child by his racist
Yes.
standards. Also, that's the other thing.
That's the punchline at the end. They're like, you don't even want to see the adults. This episode, I remember being like, yes, that's kind of what I wanted out of Daima as a whole. Is I don't. It's tough.
Give me
because
weird, right?
Had they advertised Daima more of what it is, I think my expectations would have been properly set. But heading into it with it being like, oh, they're going to turn into kids and it's going to be more like the original Dragon Ball, I was thinking, oh, it's going to be like they're just going to like go on these wacky adventures and come across crazy monsters or different things and beat them up.
Yeah.
And instead it's been like lore dumps about the demon world and like you said, like new power-up forms and new make something canon, maybe. Whether or not this show is canon is up for debate. And then like a lot of kind of nothing. This episode gets to that like just adventure-y fun bit of it. And
yeah.
I know what Daima basically is supposed to be is like a 40th anniversary. Hey, remember all these fun things that you liked and all the other stuff? I do. I'm one of those people that can watch that other stuff though. Like
this is the stuff that I really enjoy.
Yes. This was a fun episode.
One little bit that was towards the end of the episode that I really liked in this one. So Vegeta asks, I can't remember who it was specifically, but like the place that they're on, this planet Mega, is the second most dangerous demon world to be on. So Vegeta asks, like, what's the number one like most dangerous place in the demon realm? And the answer is the planet Giga, where even larger beings known as the Gigith live. So that's another little fun bit. Like these aren't even like the seriously scary ones. There's even bigger ones out there somewhere.
Yeah. And it's there's your like also the planet Giga is bigger than Mega, like
sure.
Gigabytes, megabytes. Everyone should kind of get that reference these days in the
you would hope, but you never know.
21st century. That brings us to episode 14. This was the one. Not much happens.
We get introduced to the Gendarmerie Force.
Yeah. We have the Ginyu Force at home force.
Yeah. the Dollar General Ginyu Force.
the Great Value Ginyu Force. They're not even like the Kroger brand.
Oh, also, Neva just like reopens the warp tunnels.
That's this one. That's the one where like Goku is falling out of the plane after like their plane blows up.
Yeah. And
he's just like falling and falling, and they're like, "Oh no, what are we gonna do?" And I'm like, "Well, you've got one guy who can stretch his arms very, very far.
Yeah,
he could potentially stretch his arms and grab him. All of you can fly. You could, fly and go grab him."
This is what they call spotty writing, folks.
Yes. This is like artificial tension.
Big time.
Especially like I know the show is like I think supposed to be like a little bit more for kids, but like what age of child
is going to forget that a character can fly?
Do you think you have to be to find tension in that moment? Like, I would say younger than this show is aiming for.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, it's the kid that watches the 11-minute episode of Blue's Clues and then needs to watch the 11-minute episode of Blue's Clues again right afterwards. That's the exact same episode again.
Yeah.
In order to start remembering what happened in the 11-minute episode of Blue's Clues. And as young as this show has aimed at times, it's not aiming that young.
True. But yeah, there's not a ton, like there's also like a scene between the Gendarmerie Force and Duu and Kuu in like a convenience store.
That is the only part of this episode that I actually really liked.
It's probably one of the only parts worth mentioning.
It's the Gendarmerie Force is in a convenience store loading up on food, and Kuu and Duu are like, oh, you guys can buy all this junk food, buy us some. And they're like, when you're as strong as us, you can buy all kinds of snacks. And Duu is like, oh, look how much chocolate we want to buy. And they like go and put it all on the counter. And the price comes to like more money than the Gendarmerie Force have, even after they've been bragging about how they have all this money.
Yeah.
And so they're like, well, what they do, this is like cute. Because what they do is they don't have enough money to pay for any of it, but the convenience store clerk is just going to give it to them because they're like the Gendarmerie Force.
Yeah.
So they do pay for 2 chocolate bars. And they give them to Duu and Kuu.
Yeah.
And they're like, here you go, kids.
And they had started out with 2 chocolate bars, so they've actually gained nothing from interacting with the Gendarmerie Force.
Right. It's awesome though. Like Duu and Kuu are just they're so funny together, and it gets even better. I'm sorry. I know people. There's definitely people out there who are like mad about it because like they are complete jokes. They're supposed to be like Majin Buus, but I don't care.
Yeah, but I mean, like, look at Fat Boo. Like, Fat Boo was not, unless you pissed him off, he was not a threatening person.
But that was supposedly because he absorbed the Supreme Kai.
Ah. Well, maybe these guys got a little Supreme Kai in them.
Yeah,
because weren't they made from the last of Boo's essence or something?
They were made from Fat Boo's essence.
There you go.
When Arinsu plucked a little piece of him after Majin Vegeta did his final explosion.
Kaboom. So my point still stands.
Yes.
That's all I care about.
Yes. You are correct. So that's that episode. And then the 15th episode, this was the one where I think a lot of people, at least temporarily, like really soured on this show. And this is the one where I've heard some of the most negative reviews. This one is called Sado Eye, or Third Eye. And in this episode, basically, all that happens is our team of heroes go through the gate that Neva has opened for them into the first demon world. And they fight against not the Gendarmerie Force, but just the Gendarmerie.
Right.
Just the police, not the special force. And
like police boy. The actual police, not police the band.
Yes. That would probably have been more entertaining though.
Agreed. To
see Goku like just slap Sting around.
Are we going to have to add him to the list of people that aren't allowed on the podcast? Is that where we're headed?
No, he's allowed on as long as he admits that Goku slapping him around would be fun to watch.
All right. Well, it looks like Drew Barrymore is the only one so far.
Yes. Drew Barrymore is persona non grata.
Don't ask us why. We will not be elaborating.
But so, yes, they just fight against these police, and like Vegeta gets shot and then needs a revive bug, and you're like, really? He didn't need one after he fought a Tamagami, but needs one after he gets blasted by a little laser?
Those lasers are serious business.
It's the whole episode too. I don't get it. Why is the whole episode them facing off against these nameless mooks? This is like the 4th episode in this show that's been like this.
Yeah, I don't know. There's definitely, from my perspective, it looks like maybe there was some issues during production.
Well, this is what. So I'm gonna make sure I post the article to our Blue Sky at some point after this episode of ours drops. I was found an article, given it by a friend actually, about 20 minutes before we started recording. So I didn't have a chance to really read it yet, especially because it's in Japanese, it's auto-translated. It is an interview with, I forget the person's name, but it's the person who like runs Capsule Corp, which is the corporation that exists in Japan that is basically like the guy who more or less thinks that he has the rights to use Dragon Ball. The Dragon Ball rights are a little messy right now with Toriyama's passing. I forget the guy's name, but it's his company, and he also like he was very, very involved in like Sandland and Superhero and this. So he's kind of sort of unofficially in charge. It's very confusing. We'll have to get into it maybe more at some point.
Okay.
But it's an interview with him, and I will make sure I post it to our Blue Sky. But among other things, the thing that I found most interesting in terms of this show is he admits that the show was in production and being animated before it was finished being written. And knowing that now makes so many of these episodes make sense and not in a positive light.
Like we don't want to dump on the people that worked on this because they worked really hard on it.
Yes.
And in general, like the animation and stuff has been really good in this show.
Yes.
So really the only complaint that I have is just the pacing and the writing.
And when you realize that for whatever reason, that it could be a Toei reason, like Toei could have wanted this out to like try and capitalize on the 40th anniversary. That might be part of it. Mm-hmm. It could be just because you already had some contracts in place and you needed to get something out. I don't know. For whatever reason, they decided to barrel forward through the production process without having a complete script in place. And because of that, you get episodes like this. Instead of having a fight that escalates in any kind of a way that makes sense, it really is just treading water and staying in place. And you introduced the not Ginyu Force in episode 14, and then you don't even use them at all in episode 15. They are nowhere to be seen. If you're up against the wall on writing and they're like, we need the script for episode 15 because we're about to start animating it, and you just went like, they fight the Gendarmerie, like have that be an episode because you're up against it writing wise. Yeah. Because what would make sense in this episode would be something like, and I hate like rewriting stuff because I'm not a writer.
Well, within reason.
I don't get paid to do it, so I technically am not a writer. But what would make sense would be, hey, they show up. This Gendarmerie starts attacking them. Also, the Gendarmerie force start attacking them. Because of all of those forces, it starts pushing them back. Goku and Vegeta and Piccolo say, we'll focus on the Gendarmerie force. You, being Bulma, Pansy, Glorio, and Supreme Kai, focus on the foot soldiers. Mm-hmm. And things are at a bit of a stalemate. But then, because what does happen at the end of this episode is King Kadan, his people show up. Then that happens, and they help turn the tide. Yeah. That would make that's dramatic sense.
That's kind of the running theme that I'm hitting here as I watch these episodes. It's like, oh man, with just like a couple of tweaks, these episodes could be a lot better.
Right. They have that feeling of being written under duress and not stopping to have someone somewhere think, hey, what would make more storytelling sense? What would make more dramatic sense?
Yeah.
And learning that it was in production before there was a finished script, like, really starts to make sense.
We should probably, I don't think we've mentioned it yet, by the way. I brought it up earlier, but also in this episode, we find out that Hybis's belt, spoilers, is the evil third eye.
Which we could have known. Didn't we predict that?
We kind of predicted. Yeah, we kind of predicted it. As soon as we saw there was an eyeball on his belt, we were like, gee, somebody's looking for the evil eye, and there's this random eyeball. I wonder what will happen. But he essentially trades his belt for a hat that a demon woman is wearing. And it turns out that she actually works for Goma, and she was sent to go and try and, like, get the thing.
Here's what's crazy. This was one of the things that people, like, shredded this episode for, and I agree.
Mm-hmm.
We end up finding out in either the next episode or even the one after that yes, this is a random demon girl who works for Goma, who was given money to go and try and get the third evil eye.
Mm-hmm.
That's all she is. But when she appears in this episode, she just appears out of nowhere. She's never introduced at any point. All of a sudden, there's just this girl standing there with this goofy hat who's like, hey, Hybis, want to make out for your belt? And he's like, this part's awesome because Hybis, I'd rather have your hat.
Agreed.
Because Hybis is awesome like that. But, like, I don't... You need to introduce this character. Or end up revealing that she is either Glorio, because she's got Glorio's skin color.
Yeah.
Or Degasu.
Mm-hmm.
Or even Goma. Or even Arinsu in disguise.
I could see that. My thought on it was, why not have her mission be something from minute one? And all of these kind of dead spots in these episodes where either characters are waiting around or, like, redoing things that they've already done, getting their ship stolen. Maybe if instead it was kind of stitched in, like, her progress in tracking down where the eye is.
Or even, like, misadventures of trying to get it. Like,
yeah, exactly.
You know, she like, is reaching behind a boulder trying to, like, unhook it from Hybis's back, and he, like, swats the hand away, and he's like, oh, can we get out of here? There's, like, bugs.
Yeah, think like, because, see, for me, Goma's not really, like, Pilaf because he's an actual threat.
Right.
But I feel like this character would be perfect for, like, Mai and Shu kind of parallel. Okay. And have little bits like that, like exactly like what you're saying. She finally tracks down where the evil eye is. Turns out it's in Hybis's belt. Nobody else knows. And then there's, like, a bunch of little attempts that she does to try and get the belt that backfire horribly.
Right. She arrives on the planet with the giant kaiju hamsters. And, you know, right as she's about to go get the belt, the hamster jumps on top of her, pounds her into the dirt.
Yeah, stuff like that.
Yes. But the way this episode is, this random demon girl just is suddenly there with no introduction whatsoever of any kind. Yeah. And they had people being like, well, they're going to reveal that this is Degasu or Glorio or someone, like, tricking him. Nope, it's just some random demon girl.
Makes sense. Not
good. Like, I'm sorry, that's some not good writing. And this is a show that I'm generally enjoying. It's fun enough while it's on.
Yeah.
We'll end up doing an episode on episodes 16 through 20 and giving our overall impressions of the series.
Yeah, I think it's definitely worth taking a look at the thing as a whole versus the chunks that we've been doing, because yeah, there's some issues with it, but there's still a lot of good stuff here, and I feel like so far this show has been one where if you're a fan of Dragon Ball in general, this is kind of you should watch it just to get some laughs and to see some cool stuff.
I think what we might do is once the dub has all 20 episodes out, because as of right now, I think they have like 6 or 7.
Mm-hmm.
So think 12, 13, 15-ish weeks from now.
Okay.
The dub will be all out. I'll go back and revisit this entire show dubbed. Then we'll get together, maybe with our friends from Kame House Party, maybe with our friends from We Got a Podcast, maybe with some other new friends, I don't know.
Sure.
And do a retrospective on the whole thing, because A, that'll be like a good way to get multiple thoughts on the whole thing, and
Yes.
B, it'll also be a little bit after the fact, so we can kind of see how the dust has all settled.
Sure.
And get less knee-jerk reactions out of it.
And be able to look at the reactions of other people and be like, well, is that valid or is that not? Maybe have a fun discussion that way.
Right. Generally, I am enjoying the show. I think, like you said, like the animation is so good.
It genuinely is.
It remains a beautiful show to look at, and very rarely do I ever see anything that looks off model or poorly animated or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
And very often when I see something that looks to be less than awesomely animated, like there's just been little occasions here and there. Like I think this episode was one of them where they talked about a lot of like the lore around the third eye in this episode again, and and they like had flashes of other characters and kind of didn't illuminate them all that well.
Yeah.
And to me, when I see something like that in this show, I think that's a stylistic choice, not a mistake.
Yeah.
I may not enjoy it necessarily, but it's a choice, not a mistake.
Sure.
That's what I tend to think when I see things in this show that are animated in a way that I don't jive with. And it doesn't happen very often, but I think when it does, I think to myself, that's a choice, not a mistake.
Yeah. I mean, for me personally, I'm with you. I think this is pretty good for the most part. I have my issues with the writing, but again, I feel like the reason why we keep talking about it is because it's more interesting to talk about that than it is to just sit here and gush over how everything else is actually pretty good.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, especially because it really is like I think we're really honing in on what the issue is that this is, if this show really was being produced before there were finished scripts for every episode, that really hones in on this was 15 episodes of script that they have stretched to 20.
I could see that, yeah.
And that's been a big piece of the issue, has been the not just the storytelling. The storytelling needed another pass, but the pacing really has been the issue. Like we said, like an episode like episode 14, where nothing happens except they fight a bunch of unnamed mooks
grunts, yeah,
for 22 minutes, and then it's over, and like there's never an instant of drama behind the whole thing at all.
Yeah, like I could understand if there were some stakes in that fight with those grunts, but as far as I can tell, there wasn't any stakes.
None.
Which just kind of makes it sort of bland.
The only good part of that whole episode was getting more of the VegeBull, as people call it.
Yeah.
The VegeBull shipped, which, you know, the plane blows up and Bulma's falling out of the sky and Vegeta swoops in and carries her. Adorable. Again, I want my sitcom, The Saiyan Prince and Buu Heirs.
I gotta be honest, I never pegged Vegeta to be a wife guy, but I'm liking it.
You know, the Fresh Prince and Buu Heirs, so that people get the pun more readily.
Yeah. That is pretty good. I do like that one.
And it's just those 5 characters. And like, you know, I mean, occasionally Goku can come in and like, you know, do something or say, be like, oh, check out my new form, Vegeta. And then like the rest of the episode is just Vegeta being like, I can't believe you got another new form.
So in your
it's
hypothetical,
okay, you could train.
If you're in your hypothetical sitcom, is Vegeta the Fresh Prince or is he Uncle Phil?
I think He's got to be more Uncle Phil, right?
I would think so. And then we can have that touching moment with Duu and Kuu when they're like, "Why doesn't Arinsu want us?" And we just hug them. Going deep on the Fresh Prince lore in this episode.
Oh, that would be awesome.
There you go. You can pitch it that way. It's those 5 characters, but it's just them repurposing Fresh Prince scripts.
Hybis is Carlton.
Absolutely.
We don't have a Fresh Prince though. Oh no, Duu and Kuu are the Fresh Princes. Yeah.
Yeah, they'll be twins in this instance instead of just, one Fresh Prince, but they're the Boo heirs. So it makes sense.
In West First Demon World, born and raised.
That's right.
In the convenience stores where they spent most of their days.
Till this Gendarmerie force showed up and folks got scared. Now they're living with Vegeta and Bulma on Kami's lookout.
Up in the air.
Oh man, it's kind of disappointing how well this works, and now it will probably never happen.
So that's Daima up to episode 15. It's okay, this show is being met with like a lot of like it feels like as we're getting towards the end, there's getting to be more polarizing takes. There's getting to be more, it's really good, it's really bad. But in general, I feel like the show has kind of been met with a lot of like, huh.
Yeah. That's kind of the feeling I'm getting to.
And that is maybe the most unfortunate, right? I would love for a new Dragon Ball thing to be met with either such effusive praise or such damning hatred that it kicks up interest, that Toei finally puts out a Blu-ray set of the original stuff that isn't hot garbage.
Mm-hmm.
I can dream, I guess.
Sure.
If you don't know, the current physical media releases, while I own them because I feel like I have to, they're not good. Dragon Ball has only been ever been released on DVD, and it doesn't look that great. Z, the blues are cropped. They are pan and scan.
Aww.
In order to fill up your full 16:9 screen instead of, the actual original aspect ratio that they were broadcast in.
Yep.
And then GT is also only on DVD. The Blu-rays for Super are fine because that's the way the show was aired.
Yeah.
But as I said, I would love for something to be met with enough care. Although, I guess we should slight spoilies. Episode 18 did break the internet. It crashed Crunchyroll's servers. So,
but we'll talk about that next.
But that's
episode.
Spoiler alerts for my general thoughts. All you got to do to excite people is just dangle something shiny in front of them.
Yeah, I could see that.
No, aside from that, let's see. Up on the show coming up soon. Next week, we will have an episode that is one of our Summer Con panels so that everyone can kind of get a feel for what that's like. And then in March, we've got our usual March Madness tournament. It was a fun one again this year.
Indeed.
And then we're going to be getting into Dragon Ball Z.
Back into Dragon Ball Z. I'm looking forward to it.
That's what we got going on in the show. Let me see if I got anything fun on Blue Sky. Any interesting tidbits from any of our listeners that I could talk about here. Friend of the show, Dylan, said, finally caught the latest episode. I've been wanting to read manga theater forever. I'm glad you guys broke it down like you did. Love the theme song, love your skits, and I'll definitely listen to the rest. So thank you, Dylan, for the feedback.
Always appreciate a new fan.
Yes. Let's see, what else are we up to? Other than Dragon Ball, if you want to know what I'm doing right now, I just started re-listening to the Dark Tower franchise.
Ooh.
On audiobook.
Okay.
I've been meaning to revisit it for a long time.
I should. I think it's been I think it's been close to 15 years since I last read it.
I've read through it twice. I read through the 5th book. I started reading it when the 5th book came out. So I read through the 5th book and then the 6th book very fast. And then I had to wait for the 7th book, and then I read that. And then at one other point, I think when Wind Through the Keyhole came out, I read through the whole series and then read Wind Through the Keyhole.
Oh, I just read Wind Through the Keyhole personally when that one came out, but reading all of them again probably is what I should have done.
And then this time through, I think I'm going to listen to audiobooks.
I like that idea.
So
it's a good way to spend your space commute.
Exactly. We're just floating around here aimlessly most of the time.
Sure.
We did get a lot of chatter on our. We posted a I don't know what you call it. There's it's not a meme. There's a very, very weird toy that was made by Korean toy company Academy Plastic Model.
Okay.
It's a Smith & Wesson handgun. And on the packaging is Goku holding it.
Oh, my.
I did like the one comment was from a guy on Blue Sky called Just a Skeleton, and it was a picture of Super Saiyan Goku holding an automatic weapon, and it said Goku after unlocking Super Smith & Wesson. Villain, give me another person. Villain, give me your best shot. This is from Capabara. Give me your best shot. Ha ha ha. Goku, Kamehameha. Pulls out handgun. Blap, blap, blap. Someone said this is how Goku trained to be in Fortnite.
Oh, that's a good one. I like that one.
So yes, follow us on Blue Sky because that's where I do my best work. And so do our listeners. Yeah,
definitely.
So do our listeners, I'll say. What about you? Anything you got going on that you wish to share?
Oh, God. Let's see. I've been playing a lot of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. That came out on PC, and I've been chugging through that. I think I got like 30 hours in it so far. But other than that, not much.
We're just trying to survive the next 3.95 years.
One day at a time.
And I think that's as specific as we'd like to get. Because I'd rather not depress myself.
Without even having to pick a side. It's just people are getting weird.
But I think you can tell which side we lie on.
Probably. But people are getting weird.
Oh, I did also recently. My kids and I, we read a book and watch a movie.
Okay.
And we talk about like, oh, which do you like better, the book or the movie? And my kids almost always like the movie better because it's shorter.
That makes sense in an ADHD sort of way.
They are 9 and 10 years old, so of course they like the movie better. But we're doing Lord of the Rings. My son is enjoying it mostly. My daughter, not really. So I reread The Hobbit on my own, as we are still slowly working our way through Return of the King.
Mm-hmm.
I then, because I got them for free, I want to stress that I got them for free, revisited the Hobbit movies for the first time since theaters.
Oh.
I got a pack of the extended Blu-ray versions of that trilogy for free like 3 years ago, and they sat on my shelf unopened, and I never intended to open them.
I was going to say, if I remember correctly, you were not a fan of those movies.
And I rewatched them all, and I think I came out slightly more positive than I was before, and yet I still gave them all a 2 out of 5. But I then did watch a fan edit.
Oh, okay.
It was a little tough because I watched it kind of on the heels of already watching 10 hours of Hobbit movies. But if I do get a bug to ever watch them again, I will watch that instead. It was much more tolerable. I might even say good.
Okay.
But again, I was a little just worn down by watching The Hobbit.
Oh,
For 10
speaking of
hours.
watching stuff, I just remembered. So I just finished a rewatch of an anime called Hajime no Ippo, which for anybody
Okay.
that doesn't know, it translates as Ippo the Fighter. Ippo is a young man who decides to pursue professional boxing as a career. And this thing is basically Rocky for lack of like a better shorthand.
Okay.
But it's been around since the 80s. It's written by a gentleman by the name of George Morikawa, who is a huge boxing fan, and so there's a lot of like actual boxing knowledge suffused throughout this entire piece of media. There's an anime. I believe the easiest place to watch it is on Crunchyroll. They have everything there. They've got every episode as well as a couple of the TV like movie special type things.
Mm-hmm. OVAs.
Yeah, OVAs that take you up to, I don't know, I think probably like the first 30% of the manga.
Okay.
And the manga's been going since the 80s. I'm fully caught up on it. It's something like, let me double check real quick.
It's 142 volumes according to
142
Wikipedia.
volumes, and the latest episode that I just read was number 1483. So I recommend it. It's really good, especially like if you like something like Rocky. Just a fun watch, good times. A great cast of characters. The main character is a bit of a nerd, but he's got guts. I'll give him that.
Okay. I like that season one of this show is 76 episodes.
Yeah.
And then seasons 2 and 3 are each like 25.
Yeah. I guess my recommendation would be watch the anime first. If you enjoy the anime, switch over to reading the manga. I'm
Okay.
not sure exactly what chapter you would pick up in the manga to like skip all the stuff in the anime if that's what you want to do, but that should be easily researchable if you're at all interested.
Okay. And then I'll go into my realm and say I've watched a couple of B-grade horror movies recently.
Oh.
This year's Wolfman, personally do not recommend. I did not find it very good.
Okay.
And it's unfortunate because I really liked Leigh Whannell's Invisible Man a lot. And he directed this, but I think he got a little too in his head on this one and went like, how do I make it too different from the other one? You know?
Okay.
And you have a Wolfman movie without a wolf man in it.
Oh. Well, that's no fun.
Yeah. And then I also watched the new Street Trash movie. If you're unfamiliar with Street Trash.
I am unfamiliar.
It is a movie from 1987. It is basically just gloop in a movie. It is that is what the movie is. It's the whole like it's all just hobos picking up random alcohol off the street, drinking it, and it melts them. That's what Street Trash is. That's
okay.
And yeah, that speaks to me personally. So,
Well,
I checked out the new one, the remake from. It's pretty recent. It just came out, I think, towards the end of last year, and it's a bunch of homeless people getting melted. To me, if you're speaking this, if you're following me along here at all, and you're like, oh yeah, I know Street Trash. It's more than just hobos getting melted. Okay, okay. Let's have a conversation. We can. You and I speak the same language. And if you're speaking that language, the new Street Trash takes a little more from Body Melt, in my opinion, than from the original Street Trash, with a dash of Thanksgiving 3 mixed in.
Okay.
But it is still a good splattery time. It's still a very counterculture kind of movie. You know, it's not the kind of movie that you're going to show in multiplexes or show to your parents or anything like that.
I mean, or don't listen to us. We're just podcast hosts. What do we know?
Right, sure, but yeah, it's that kind of like, you know, you don't tell your wife that you watched that movie, or you do, And you just, you say sorry. So that's it for this episode. I can't even remember if we ended this with like a... Will we have more Daima discussions?
I don't remember, honestly.
Find out next time if we remembered.
I feel like that's going to be an outro for a lot of stuff.
Yeah, it works.
Find out next time if we remembered things correctly.
On Final Forum. There we go.
All right, let's put that one in the can.
We try to have more fun on these episodes anyway, so...
Final Form is written and produced by Tom Gwelly. It is performed by Dan Kinney and Tom Gwelly. Our webmaster is Dan Kinney. Our theme music is provided by YouTube content creator GVG Kid. Want to learn more about the Dragon Ball universe, including concept art, behind-the-scenes interviews, and recommendations from Jelli and Bekinney? Connect with us on social media. Like us on Facebook. Follow us on Twitter at Final Forum Pod. Make sure to subscribe, rate, and review wherever you receive your podcasts. And of course, make sure to share it with your friends and family and help us spread the word of the glory of Lord Frieza. The Frieza Force thanks you for your listenership.